Richard was rushed into the emergency room after a severe car accident, his condition critical. The hospital was abuzz with activity as doctors and nurses scrambled to stabilize him. Among the team was Elisa, a skilled and compassionate nurse known for her dedication. She took charge of Richard's care, her hands steady despite the chaos surrounding them. As the hours passed, Elisa worked tirelessly, monitoring Richard's vital signs and administering medication. Her heart ached with the burden of her responsibility. Meanwhile, she tried to suppress the painful memories of her past. Elisa had been unjustly dismissed from her previous job because of racial prejudice, and the man responsible for her dismissal was Richard. She couldn't help but feel a deep sense of resentment as she tended to him. Elisa's shifts were long, filled with the constant beeping of machines and the hushed conversations of worried doctors. Each time she entered Richard's room, she was reminded of the injustice she had suffered. Her colleagues noticed her strained demeanor, but attributed it to the high-pressure environment of the ICU. One night, as she prepared Richard's medication, Elisa found herself staring at a photograph on his bedside table. The picture was of Richard with his family, a stark reminder of the man she despised. Her emotions were a turbulent mix of anger and compassion. Despite her personal feelings, she remained professional, determined to give Richard the best care possible. As the days went by, Richard's condition gradually improved. Elisa continued her work, her resentment simmering beneath the surface. She would occasionally overhear snippets of conversations about Richard's high-profile business dealings and his reputation as a powerful businessman. The knowledge that she was caring for the man who had so wronged her weighed heavily on her mind. One evening, after another grueling shift, Elisa found herself alone in the hospital lounge. She pulled out her phone and searched for news articles about Richard. The stories confirmed his status as a prominent figure in the business world. Her stomach churned with a mix of anger and helplessness. Back in Richard's room, she overheard a conversation between the doctors about his recovery plan. The medical team discussed how crucial Elisa's care had been for his progress. Despite the personal conflict, her dedication was evident to everyone around her. Elisa's interactions with Richard were tense but courteous. He had not yet regained full consciousness, and she was careful to keep their conversations strictly professional. Each day, she wondered if the day would come when he would remember her, or if their paths would cross again in a different context. One afternoon, Elisa was alone with Richard, adjusting his IV drip. He stirred slightly and opened his eyes, looking directly at her for the first time. She could see a flicker of recognition in his gaze, but he did not speak. Elisa's heart raced as she wondered if he would remember their past. Elisa's internal struggle continued. She wanted to confront Richard, to make him understand the pain he had caused her. Yet, she also felt a responsibility to her profession and to Richard's recovery. The pressure of these conflicting emotions was almost too much to bear. Each night, Elisa lay awake, wrestling with the memories of her dismissal and the desire for justice. She knew she had to find a way to reconcile her professional duties with her personal feelings. The situation was far from resolved, and Elisa could only hope that time would bring clarity. As Richard's condition stabilized, Elisa continued her care with a blend of professionalism and hidden resentment. Each day, Richard showed small signs of improvement, moving closer to full consciousness. Elisa's role was crucial, and her dedication did not go unnoticed by her colleagues. They praised her efforts, acknowledging how her skills had made a significant difference in Richard's recovery. Despite the praise, Elisa felt an increasing sense of tension. Richard's gradual recovery meant that the possibility of him regaining full awareness and potentially remembering their past was becoming more real. Elisa had kept her distance both physically and emotionally as she managed his treatment and assisted with his rehabilitation. One morning, as Elisa prepared Richard's breakfast, she overheard a conversation between two doctors. They discussed Richard's business achievements and his influence in the industry. The words stung Elisa, reminding her of the unjust dismissal she had endured. She tried to push these thoughts aside, focusing on her tasks. Her goal was to ensure Richard's recovery, regardless of their past. During a quiet moment, Elisa came across a file with Richard's medical records. As she reviewed the details to ensure accurate care, she noticed a section detailing his past health issues, including stress and hypertension. The realization that Richard's health problems might have been exacerbated by the pressures of his high-profile job made Elisa feel a twinge of sympathy. She knew that personal stress could impact one's well-being, but it didn't erase the pain she had experienced. Richard's family visited frequently, filling the room with a warm and supportive atmosphere. Elisa observed their interactions from a distance, noting how much they cared for him. She couldn't help but wonder if they knew about the part Richard had played in her life, or if they were simply focused on his recovery. One afternoon, Richard attempted to speak for the first time. He tried to thank Elisa, but his words were slurred and difficult to understand. Elisa's heart skipped a beat as she listened. The moment was both profound and painful. She had to remind herself that her primary responsibility was to help him recover, regardless of her personal feelings. As Richard's cognitive functions improved, he began asking questions about his condition and the care he was receiving. Elisa provided honest and detailed responses, carefully avoiding any mention of their past connection. She maintained a professional demeanor, though inside, she grappled with conflicting emotions. Elisa's work hours grew increasingly long as she dedicated herself to Richard's care. Her exhaustion was evident, but she pushed through, driven by a sense of duty and the hope that one day she might find a resolution to the personal conflict she faced. Her colleagues continued to support her, admiring her commitment and resilience. One evening, Elisa received a call from an old colleague who had heard about Richard's accident. They inquired about her well-being and offered words of encouragement. The conversation reminded Elisa that she wasn't alone in her struggles and that support was available, even if she felt isolated at times. As Richard's condition continued to improve, Elisa wondered about the future. She knew that once he was fully recovered, their paths might cross again. The thought of facing him as a free man, without the constraints of hospital walls, left her both anxious and hopeful. For now, her focus remained on ensuring his complete recovery. Even as she navigated her complex emotions, Richard's recovery continued to progress, and Elisa found herself increasingly involved in his daily care. Each day, as Richard regained more of his cognitive functions, Elisa faced the challenge of maintaining her professionalism while grappling with the painful memories of her past. One morning, Richard's condition allowed him to sit up and engage in more coherent conversations. Elisa, while administering medication, overheard him talking with a nurse about his family and his business achievements. His tone was reflective, and he mentioned feeling remorseful for past mistakes. Elisa's heart skipped a beat. The mention of regret stirred something within her. Could he be referring to the impact he had on her life? Later that day, Richard's speech therapist arrived to work with him on his recovery. Elisa observed their session from a distance, noting Richard's determined effort to regain his communication skills. His perseverance was admirable, but it also highlighted the stark contrast between the powerful businessman he had been and the vulnerable patient he was now. During a break, Elisa sat in the hospital lounge, her thoughts racing. She reviewed her notes from the previous days and found herself contemplating Richard's words. She wondered if his current vulnerability could lead to a genuine apology, or if it was simply a temporary reflection of his situation. Her mind replayed the day of her dismissal, bringing back the sharp sting of injustice she had felt. The next day, Elisa noticed that Richard had begun asking specific questions about his past. He inquired about the circumstances leading up to his accident and seemed troubled by the fragmented memories he had. Elisa chose her words carefully, providing only factual information and avoiding any personal commentary. She was determined to keep their interactions professional, despite her internal turmoil. One evening, after a particularly long shift, Elisa stumbled upon an old letter from her previous employer. The letter was a reminder of her accomplishments before her unjust dismissal. It reignited her determination to seek justice and make sure that the wrongs of her past were addressed. She knew that confronting Richard was inevitable, but she was uncertain about the best approach. As Richard's rehabilitation continued, he began to show signs of increased awareness and reflection. One afternoon, while Elisa was adjusting his IV drip, Richard looked at her with a serious expression. He struggled to speak, trying to articulate something important. Elisa's heart raced as she wondered if this was the moment he would confront her with the truth or express regret. During a quiet moment in Richard's room, he reached out and touched Elisa's hand. The gesture was unexpected and filled with a mix of gratitude and vulnerability. Elisa felt a pang of conflicting emotions, compassion for his struggle, and lingering resentment for the past. She wondered if this gesture was an attempt to bridge the gap between them or simply a moment of personal connection. As the days passed, Elisa noticed Richard becoming more introspective. He started expressing regret for not being more considerate in his past dealings and mentioned a desire to make amends. Elisa struggled to reconcile these statements with the reality of her experience. She found herself questioning whether his remorse was genuine or merely a result of his current circumstances. One night, Elisa received a phone call from a friend who had been following the news about Richard's accident. The friend asked about her feelings and offered support. The conversation was a small but significant reminder that Elisa was not alone in her struggle. It reinforced her resolve to address the situation on her terms, no matter how difficult it might be. As Richard's recovery reached a pivotal stage, Elisa knew that the time to confront him was approaching. The delicate balance between professional duty and personal justice was weighing heavily on her. Each day brought new challenges and emotional hurdles, but Elisa remained focused on providing the best care for Richard while preparing herself for the inevitable confrontation. As Richard's condition continued to improve, Elisa faced the reality of his impending discharge. She was both relieved and apprehensive about the end of his hospital stay. The progress he made was remarkable, yet she felt a growing need to confront him about their past. One morning, Elisa received the news that Richard would be discharged in a few days. The hospital team began preparing for his transition to outpatient care, and Elisa was tasked with coordinating his follow-up appointments. She approached these duties with her usual diligence, but found it increasingly difficult to maintain her composure. Each day, the weight of her past experiences with Richard loomed larger. In the days leading up to Richard's discharge, Elisa's interactions with him became more personal. He expressed gratitude for her care, and their conversations grew more intimate, though she kept them within professional boundaries. Richard spoke of his plans for the future, including his desire to make changes in his business and personal life. Elisa could sense a genuine effort on his part to reflect on his past mistakes. One afternoon, as Elisa reviewed Richard's discharge instructions, he asked if they could have a private conversation. Elisa agreed, her heart pounding with a mixture of anticipation and anxiety. They sat together in a quiet corner of the hospital, away from the bustling activity of the ward. Richard began the conversation by thanking Elisa for her exceptional care. He acknowledged the difficult situation he had put her in and expressed remorse for his actions. Elisa listened intently, trying to gauge the sincerity of his words. Richard's demeanor was earnest, and he spoke of a desire to make amends and ensure that his past mistakes did not define him. As Richard continued to speak, he mentioned how his accident had given him a new perspective on life. He admitted that he had not fully appreciated the impact of his actions on others until he faced his own vulnerability. Elisa struggled to hold back her emotions as she listened. The pain of her past still lingered, but Richard's words hinted at a possible path toward resolution. Elisa decided to share her own perspective. She spoke candidly about her experiences, the injustice she had faced, and how it had affected her life. Richard listened with a pained expression, and for the first time, Elisa saw a glimpse of the man she had once known in a different light. It was a moment of raw honesty, and both of them felt the weight of their shared history. During their conversation, Richard offered to help Elisa in any way he could. He suggested that they find a way to address the issues she had faced professionally and personally. Elisa was taken aback by his offer, but remained cautious. She had spent so long guarding her feelings that accepting his help was a challenging prospect. As the discharge date approached, Elisa prepared for the transition of Richard's care. The hospital team organized follow-up appointments and arranged for home health services. Elisa made sure that all the necessary details were covered, ensuring that Richard would continue to receive the support he needed. On Richard's last day in the hospital, Elisa felt a mixture of relief and sadness. Their final interactions were emotional, with Richard expressing his gratitude once more. Elisa wished him well, knowing that their paths might cross again in the future. She hoped that the conversation they had shared marked the beginning of a new chapter for both of them. As Richard left the hospital, Elisa watched him go with a heavy heart. The resolution she had sought was still incomplete, but she felt a sense of closure. The experience had been transformative, and she was left contemplating the possibilities for her own future and the potential for forgiveness and reconciliation. As Richard transitioned to outpatient care, Elisa was left with a complex mix of emotions. She had managed to convey her feelings and hear Richard's apologies, but the journey toward complete resolution was far from over. Her days were now filled with the routine of hospital duties, but her thoughts often returned to the conversation they had. Elisa's colleagues noticed her preoccupation and offered support. They encouraged her to focus on her own well-being and reminded her of the positive impact she had made on Richard's recovery. Their support was a small comfort, but Elisa knew that her emotional burden was not easily lifted. One day, Elisa received a call from Richard's office. They requested a meeting to discuss how he could assist her professionally. The call was unexpected, and Elisa felt a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. She agreed to the meeting, unsure of what to expect, but hopeful that it might provide some clarity. At the scheduled meeting, Elisa arrived at Richard's office. The building was impressive, a testament to Richard's success. As she walked through the lobby, she couldn't help but reflect on the power dynamics that had once been so oppressive. The setting felt alien to her, but she steeled herself for the conversation ahead. Richard greeted her warmly and invited her into his office. The space was elegant, filled with personal artifacts and accolades. As they sat down, Richard expressed his gratitude once more for her care and acknowledged the challenges she had faced. Elisa listened but remained guarded, waiting for the specifics of his offer. Richard proposed several ways he could support her. He suggested helping her find a new position at a prestigious healthcare organization or offering financial assistance to support her career development. He also mentioned the possibility of using his influence to address systemic issues within the healthcare system that had contributed to her unjust dismissal. Elisa was taken aback by the breadth of Richard's offer. The thought of a new opportunity was tempting, but she also questioned the authenticity of his intentions. She needed time to consider his proposals and to evaluate whether accepting his help would truly bring her the resolution she sought. As she left Richard's office, Elisa felt a sense of unease. The offer was significant, but it also came with the potential for renewed complexity in their relationship. She contemplated the implications of accepting his help and the possible impact on her own sense of integrity and self-worth. In the following days, Elisa sought advice from trusted friends and mentors. They offered varied perspectives, emphasizing the importance of weighing her options carefully. Some encouraged her to accept Richard's offer as a step toward personal and professional growth, while others cautioned her against compromising her values. Elisa also took time to reflect on her own goals and aspirations. She realized that her primary concern was not just about personal retribution, but about ensuring that her future was shaped by her own choices and capabilities. The support Richard offered could potentially open doors, but she needed to decide if it aligned with her long-term vision. Meanwhile, Richard continued to recover and transition back to his business life. Elisa received occasional updates from his office, and their interactions remained cordial but formal. She focused on her daily responsibilities, trying to maintain her professional demeanor despite the ongoing emotional turbulence. As the days turned into weeks, Elisa weighed her options and considered the potential benefits and drawbacks of Richard's offer. She knew that her decision would have lasting consequences and that she needed to act in a way that felt true to her values and aspirations. In the end, Elisa decided to take the time she needed to make a well-considered choice. She knew that whatever decision she made, it would be an important step towards shaping her future and finding the resolution she had been seeking. The journey toward closure was ongoing, and Elisa was determined to navigate it with both courage and integrity. As Elisa continued to deliberate over Richard's offer, she found herself caught between her professional aspirations and her personal principles. The support he had proposed was significant, but accepting it meant confronting unresolved feelings and potential implications for her career. One afternoon, Elisa received a letter from Richard's office inviting her to a formal dinner. The event was designed to discuss his offer in a more personal and less formal setting. Elisa hesitated, but ultimately decided to attend, hoping that a face-to-face conversation might offer greater clarity. The dinner was held at a high-end restaurant, a stark contrast to the hospital environment Elisa was used to. As she entered the restaurant, she felt the weight of the occasion and the significance of her decision. Richard welcomed her warmly, and the evening began with polite conversation and small talk. Throughout the dinner, Richard made an effort to engage Elisa in casual conversation, discussing topics unrelated to their past conflict. The relaxed atmosphere was intended to create a more comfortable space for their discussion. Elisa appreciated the attempt, but remained focused on the underlying purpose of the meeting. After the main course, Richard steered the conversation back to his offer. He reiterated his desire to support Elisa in any way he could, emphasizing his commitment to making amends for the past. Richard spoke of his own journey of self-reflection and personal growth since the accident, and how it had influenced his desire to correct past wrongs. Elisa listened carefully, weighing his words against her own experiences and values. She acknowledged the sincerity in Richard's voice, but struggled with the emotional complexity of accepting his help. She was aware that her decision could impact not only her career, but also her sense of personal justice. During the course of the evening, Elisa was struck by the personal changes in Richard. His reflections seemed genuine, and he spoke about his efforts to address the systemic issues within his company. He expressed a strong desire to improve diversity and inclusion within his organization, and to ensure that others did not face the same discrimination Elisa had experienced. As the evening drew to a close, Richard made a heartfelt plea for Elisa to consider his offer. He proposed a formal partnership or mentorship arrangement where he could directly assist her career development and advocate for systemic changes. Elisa was moved by his words, but remained cautious. Elisa left the dinner with a heavy heart and a mind full of questions. The evening had provided valuable insights, but had not fully resolved her internal conflict. She needed time to reflect on the implications of Richard's offer and how it aligned with her own values and goals. In the following days, Elisa continued to seek advice from mentors and trusted friends. They emphasized the importance of considering the long-term impact of her decision and staying true to her personal values. Their support was instrumental in helping her navigate the complexity of the situation. Elisa also took time to evaluate her own career goals and aspirations. She reviewed her past achievements and future ambitions, considering how Richard's support could align with her professional trajectory. Her reflections led her to recognize that while his offer was substantial, her ultimate decision needed to reflect her own sense of integrity and self-worth. As Richard's recovery continued, Elisa maintained a professional distance but remained open to the possibility of future collaboration. She prepared herself for a potential follow-up conversation with him, where she hoped to make a decision that balanced her professional opportunities with her personal principles. In the end, Elisa knew that whatever choice she made would shape her future and her sense of justice. She was determined to approach the situation with careful consideration and to make a decision that would be both professionally and personally fulfilling. The journey toward resolution was ongoing, and Elisa remained committed to finding a path that aligned with her values and aspirations. Elisa had spent days weighing Richard's offer, and the time had come for her to make a decision. She knew that the choice she faced was pivotal, not only for her career, but also for her sense of justice and personal integrity. As she prepared for the follow-up conversation with Richard, she felt a mix of anxiety and determination. On the day of the meeting, Elisa reviewed her notes and thoughts, trying to consolidate her decision. She was determined to communicate her stance clearly and to ensure that her choice reflected both her values and her professional goals. Richard's office had scheduled the meeting at a neutral location, a quiet cafe where they could talk without interruptions. When Elisa arrived at the cafe, she saw Richard waiting at a corner table. He greeted her warmly and offered her a seat. The atmosphere was calm, and the setting was designed to be more informal than their previous interactions. Elisa appreciated the effort to create a relaxed environment, but she remained focused on the task at hand. Richard began the conversation by expressing his gratitude for Elisa's time and patience. He reiterated his desire to support her and to help address the issues she had faced. He emphasized his commitment to making meaningful changes and improving diversity within his organization. Elisa listened carefully, acknowledging Richard's words but remaining guarded. Elisa took a deep breath and began to articulate her decision. She expressed her appreciation for Richard's offer and acknowledged the sincerity of his intentions. However, she also conveyed her concerns about accepting his support. Elisa explained that while she valued the opportunity, she felt that accepting his help might complicate her sense of personal justice and independence. Richard listened attentively, his expression reflecting a mix of understanding and disappointment. He acknowledged Elisa's concerns and expressed his respect for her decision. He assured her that he would continue to support efforts to address systemic issues and to promote positive change within his organization, regardless of her choice. As their conversation progressed, Richard offered to provide a letter of recommendation and to support Elisa's efforts to pursue new career opportunities on her own terms. He assured her that his offer was not conditional on any specific outcome, but was meant to be a genuine gesture of support. Elisa was moved by Richard's response. She appreciated the alternative offer and felt that it allowed her to maintain her independence while still benefiting from his support. The conversation ended on a positive note, with both parties expressing mutual respect and understanding. After the meeting, Elisa felt a sense of relief and clarity. She had made a decision that aligned with her values and professional goals while preserving her sense of justice. The process had been challenging, but it had also provided valuable insights into herself and her career aspirations. In the weeks that followed, Elisa continued to focus on her professional development and personal growth. She used Richard's letter of recommendation to explore new opportunities and to build on her past achievements. The support she received from friends, mentors, and colleagues helped her navigate this new phase of her career. Richard's efforts to address systemic issues within his organization gained attention, and he was recognized for his commitment to improving diversity and inclusion. Elisa watched these developments with a sense of cautious optimism, knowing that positive change was possible even in the face of past conflicts. As Elisa moved forward, she remained grateful for the support she had received and for the opportunity to make a decision that honored her principles. The journey had been difficult, but it ultimately led her to a place of greater self-awareness and professional fulfillment. Elisa's path was now clear, and she embraced the future with renewed determination and confidence. The experience had taught her valuable lessons about forgiveness, justice, and the importance of staying true to oneself. As she continued her career, she remained committed to making a positive impact and to navigating the complexities of her professional and personal life with integrity. Elisa's decision to move forward independently marked a new chapter in her life, and she began to focus on seizing the opportunities that lay ahead. As she settled into her new routine, she received positive responses to her job applications and found herself on the verge of new professional opportunities. Each step forward was a testament to her resilience and determination. One morning, Elisa received an unexpected invitation to speak at a conference about her experiences and insights on diversity and inclusion in healthcare. The invitation was extended by an organization dedicated to promoting equitable practices in the industry. Elisa was both excited and apprehensive about the opportunity, knowing it would give her a platform to share her story and advocate for meaningful change. As Elisa prepared for the conference, she reflected on her journey and the lessons she had learned. She crafted her speech with care, aiming to convey the importance of addressing systemic issues and promoting fairness in the workplace. Her goal was to inspire others to take action and to highlight the need for continued progress. The day of the conference arrived, and Elisa felt a mix of nerves and anticipation. The venue was filled with professionals and advocates dedicated to improving diversity and inclusion in various fields. As Elisa took the stage, she was greeted with a warm and supportive audience. Her speech was well received, and she felt a sense of empowerment as she spoke about her experiences and the importance of creating a more inclusive environment. During the conference, Elisa had the opportunity to network with other professionals and activists. She met individuals who shared her passion for promoting equity and had valuable conversations about collaborative efforts to address systemic issues. The connections she made at the event opened doors to potential partnerships and initiatives that aligned with her vision for positive change. After the conference, Elisa felt a renewed sense of purpose and direction. The experience had not only validated her efforts, but had also provided her with new tools and resources to advocate for meaningful change. She was inspired by the stories of others who had faced similar challenges and was motivated to continue her work in promoting diversity and inclusion. Meanwhile, Richard's efforts to address diversity and inclusion within his organization gained traction. He implemented several initiatives aimed at creating a more equitable workplace and fostering a culture of respect and inclusivity. Elisa followed these developments with interest, recognizing the impact of his actions and the positive changes they were bringing about. Elisa's professional journey continued to evolve as she pursued new opportunities and engaged in initiatives focused on improving workplace equity. She took on leadership roles in various organizations and became an influential voice in advocating for systemic change. Her experiences had shaped her into a dedicated advocate for fairness and equality. As the months passed, Elisa remained committed to her mission of promoting diversity and inclusion. She continued to build on the foundation of her past achievements and used her platform to drive meaningful change. Her work garnered recognition and support from various quarters, further validating her efforts and reinforcing her sense of purpose. Reflecting on her journey, Elisa recognized the challenges she had faced and the growth she had achieved. The path to resolution had been complex, but it had ultimately led her to a place of empowerment and fulfillment. She was grateful for the lessons learned and the opportunities that had emerged from her experiences. Elisa's story became a testament to the power of resilience and the importance of staying true to one's values. She continued to navigate the complexities of her professional and personal life with integrity, always striving to make a positive impact and to inspire others to pursue their own paths to justice and equity. As she looked toward the future, Elisa felt a deep sense of accomplishment and optimism. Her journey had not only shaped her career, but had also reinforced her commitment to advocating for a more inclusive and equitable world. She embraced the challenges ahead with confidence, knowing that her efforts would contribute to a brighter and more just future for all. Elisa's career had flourished since the conference, and her reputation as an advocate for diversity and inclusion grew. Her involvement in various initiatives and her influential role in promoting systemic change were garnering attention. The success of her recent projects and her leadership in the field led to new and exciting opportunities. One afternoon, Elisa received a phone call from a prominent national organization that focused on healthcare reform and social justice. They invited her to collaborate on a major initiative aimed at addressing disparities in healthcare access and outcomes. The project involved working with top experts and policymakers to develop strategies for improving healthcare equity. Elisa was thrilled by the opportunity, but also recognized the significant responsibility it entailed. As Elisa began her work on the initiative, she was introduced to a diverse team of professionals, each bringing unique expertise to the project. The team's collaboration was dynamic and productive, and Elisa found herself deeply engaged in discussions about innovative approaches to addressing healthcare disparities. The project quickly became a central focus of her professional life, and she was inspired by the collective commitment to creating meaningful change. The initiative involved organizing a series of workshops and forums to gather input from affected communities, healthcare providers, and policymakers. Elisa played a key role in designing these events and ensuring that the voices of marginalized groups were heard. Her efforts were met with enthusiasm and support from participants who appreciated the opportunity to contribute to the development of solutions that would impact their lives. Throughout the project, Elisa maintained a strong sense of purpose and dedication. She drew on her personal experiences and the insights she had gained from her previous work to guide her contributions. The initiative began to take shape, and Elisa saw the potential for real and lasting improvements in healthcare equity. Amidst her busy schedule, Elisa continued to stay in touch with Richard. Their communication was primarily professional, focused on discussing developments related to diversity and inclusion within his organization. Richard kept Elisa updated on the progress of the initiatives he had implemented and sought her feedback on various strategies. Their interactions were cordial and respectful, and Elisa appreciated the genuine efforts Richard was making to address systemic issues. One day, Elisa received an unexpected invitation to a prestigious awards ceremony honoring leaders in healthcare reform. The event recognized individuals and organizations that had made significant contributions to improving healthcare access and equity. Elisa was nominated for her work on the initiative and was deeply honored by the recognition. At the awards ceremony, Elisa was surrounded by influential figures in the field. The atmosphere was celebratory, and the event highlighted the progress being made in healthcare reform. Elisa's nomination and subsequent award were a testament to her dedication and impact. The recognition brought a sense of validation and achievement, reinforcing her commitment to the work she was doing. Following the ceremony, Elisa's accomplishments were celebrated in various media outlets, further elevating her profile as a leader in promoting diversity and inclusion. Her success brought new opportunities for collaboration and speaking engagements, allowing her to continue advocating for systemic change on a broader scale. Elisa's journey had come full circle, from her initial struggles to her current role as a leading advocate for healthcare equity. The challenges she had faced had shaped her into a resilient and influential professional, and she remained focused on making a positive impact. Her work continued to inspire others and drive progress in the field of healthcare reform. As Elisa looked toward the future, she was excited about the possibilities and the potential for further advancements in healthcare equity. She was committed to continuing her efforts and to using her platform to advocate for meaningful change. Her story was a powerful reminder of the impact that one individual's dedication and perseverance could have on creating a more just and equitable world. Elisa's accomplishments and growing influence had established her as a key figure in the realm of healthcare reform and diversity advocacy. As her work continued to gain recognition, she faced new challenges and opportunities that tested her commitment and resilience. One morning, Elisa received an urgent call from the national organization she had been collaborating with. They informed her of a major legislative proposal that would impact healthcare access and funding. The proposal was set to be debated in Congress, and it included provisions that could significantly affect the initiatives she had been working on. Elisa was asked to provide expert testimony and advocate for specific changes to the proposal. The request was both exciting and daunting. The opportunity to influence national policy was significant, but it also came with the pressure of representing her views and the interests of the communities she advocated for. In preparation for her testimony, Elisa spent days researching the proposal, analyzing its implications, and formulating her arguments. She consulted with colleagues and experts to ensure that her testimony was well-informed and impactful. The stakes were high, and Elisa was determined to make a compelling case for the changes she believed were necessary. The day of the congressional hearing arrived, and Elisa felt a mix of nervousness and determination. The hearing was held in a large, formal chamber filled with lawmakers, staffers, and members of the media. Elisa took her seat at the witness table, prepared to present her testimony and answer questions from the committee. As she began her presentation, Elisa spoke with confidence and clarity, highlighting the importance of the proposed changes and providing evidence to support her arguments. She addressed potential concerns and offered practical solutions to enhance the proposal's effectiveness. Her testimony was well received, and she engaged in a thoughtful exchange with the committee members. Following her testimony, Elisa felt a sense of accomplishment, but the outcome of the hearing remained uncertain. She knew that the legislative process could be unpredictable, and that her advocacy was just one part of a larger effort to drive change. The waiting period was filled with anticipation and anxiety as the proposal moved through the legislative process. In the weeks that followed, Elisa continued to monitor the progress of the proposal and to engage with stakeholders. She received positive feedback from colleagues and supporters who praised her effective advocacy and dedication. Despite the challenges, Elisa remained focused on her goal and continued to work towards advancing her initiatives. One day, Elisa received the news that the proposal had passed through Congress with several key amendments that aligned with her recommendations. The success was a significant victory for the healthcare reform efforts and a testament to the impact of Elisa's advocacy. The news was celebrated by the national organization and the communities affected by the changes. Elisa's role in the legislative victory was recognized, and she was invited to participate in a series of events and discussions to highlight the success and its implications for future reform efforts. As Elisa reflected on the journey, she felt a deep sense of fulfillment. The legislative victory was a validation of her hard work and dedication, and it reinforced her commitment to continuing her advocacy for healthcare equity. The experience had also highlighted the importance of perseverance and collaboration in driving meaningful change. Elisa continued to build on her success, exploring new opportunities for impact and engagement. She remained dedicated to her mission of promoting diversity and inclusion and sought to expand her efforts to address other pressing issues in healthcare and social justice. Her story had come full circle, from her initial struggles to her current role as a leading advocate and policy influencer. Elisa's journey was a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of advocacy, and the impact that one individual's efforts could have on creating a more equitable and just world. Looking ahead, Elisa was excited about the future and the potential for further advancements in her field. She remained committed to her work and to using her voice and platform to drive positive change. The challenges she had faced had shaped her into a stronger and more effective advocate, and she was ready to continue her journey with determination and optimism. Elisa's recent legislative success had marked a significant milestone in her career, and the momentum continued to build. Her influence and visibility in the field of healthcare reform and diversity were at an all-time high, and she was approached by numerous organizations and media outlets seeking her insights and participation. One day, Elisa was invited to join a high-profile panel discussion on the future of healthcare equity, hosted by a leading think tank. The panel was comprised of prominent experts, policymakers, and advocates, and the discussion was expected to be broadcast nationally. Elisa was both honored and apprehensive about the opportunity, recognizing the potential to influence broader conversations and to advocate for continued progress. As the date of the panel discussion approached, Elisa prepared meticulously. She researched current trends and emerging issues in healthcare equity, crafted key points for her presentation, and anticipated potential questions from the audience and fellow panelists. Her goal was to provide valuable insights and to drive constructive dialogue on the future of healthcare reform. On the day of the panel discussion, Elisa arrived at the studio early to familiarize herself with the setting and to review her notes. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation, and she felt a blend of excitement and nervousness. As the panelists gathered, Elisa exchanged introductions and engaged in brief conversations with her peers. The discussion began, and Elisa was impressed by the depth and breadth of the topics covered. The panel addressed various aspects of healthcare equity, including access to care, disparities in health outcomes, and the role of policy in driving change. Elisa participated actively, offering her perspectives and drawing on her experiences to support her points. During the panel, a series of audience questions were posed, and Elisa handled them with poise and expertise. She emphasized the importance of continued advocacy, the need for comprehensive policy reforms, and the role of community engagement in driving progress. Her contributions were well received, and she was commended for her thoughtful and impactful input. As the discussion concluded, Elisa felt a sense of accomplishment. The panel had provided a valuable platform for addressing critical issues and for highlighting the ongoing challenges and opportunities in healthcare equity. The feedback from viewers and colleagues was overwhelmingly positive, and Elisa's participation was praised for its clarity and relevance. In the days following the panel discussion, Elisa's visibility continued to grow. She was featured in several interviews and articles, where she expanded on the themes discussed during the panel. The media coverage further solidified her role as a leading advocate for healthcare reform and diversity. Amidst her busy schedule, Elisa also began to focus on a new project, developing a comprehensive training program for healthcare professionals on cultural competency and unconscious bias. The program aimed to equip practitioners with the skills and knowledge necessary to address disparities and provide equitable care. Elisa was passionate about the initiative and saw it as a way to translate her advocacy into tangible, actionable outcomes. As she worked on the training program, Elisa collaborated with experts in the field and sought input from diverse communities. She designed the curriculum to be interactive and engaging, incorporating real-world scenarios and practical tools for addressing bias and promoting inclusivity. The program received enthusiastic support from healthcare organizations and was set to launch in the coming months. Elisa's journey was marked by continued growth and impact. Her work on the training program, combined with her recent successes, reinforced her commitment to advancing healthcare equity and social justice. She remained dedicated to her mission and to using her platform to drive positive change. As Elisa looked ahead, she was optimistic about the future and the potential for further advancements in her field. Her experiences had shaped her into a resilient and influential advocate, and she was excited to continue her work with renewed determination and purpose. The path forward was filled with opportunities, and Elisa was ready to embrace them with confidence and enthusiasm. Elisa's recent achievements had solidified her position as a leading voice in healthcare reform. As she prepared for the launch of her cultural competency training program, she was met with both excitement and anticipation. The program promised to be a game changer, addressing critical issues of bias and equity in healthcare. The weeks leading up to the program's launch were filled with intense preparation. Elisa and her team worked tirelessly to finalize the curriculum, ensuring that it was both comprehensive and engaging. They conducted pilot sessions with a select group of healthcare professionals to gather feedback and make necessary adjustments. The responses were overwhelmingly positive, and the pilot participants praised the program's practical approach and its potential to make a real impact. On the day of the official launch, Elisa hosted a launch event to introduce the program to a broader audience. The event was attended by key stakeholders, including healthcare leaders, policymakers, and community advocates. Elisa's speech was well received, and she highlighted the importance of cultural competency in improving patient outcomes and addressing healthcare disparities. As the program rolled out across various healthcare organizations, Elisa received encouraging reports from participants. Many expressed how the training had opened their eyes to issues of bias and provided them with actionable strategies to foster a more inclusive and equitable environment. The program's success was evident in the positive feedback and the measurable improvements reported by healthcare facilities. In parallel with the training program's rollout, Elisa continued to engage in advocacy and policy work. She was invited to contribute to a series of national conferences and discussions on healthcare equity, where she shared insights from her experiences and the outcomes of the training program. Her contributions were well received, and she gained recognition as a leading expert in the field. Despite the successes, Elisa faced new challenges as well. The increasing visibility of her work attracted scrutiny from various quarters. Some critics questioned the effectiveness of the training program and its impact on addressing systemic issues. Elisa approached these criticisms constructively, using them as opportunities to refine the program and to engage in meaningful dialogue about the complexities of healthcare reform. One of the most significant challenges came when a major healthcare provider faced a public scandal involving allegations of discriminatory practices. The incident threatened to overshadow the positive outcomes of Elisa's training program. Elisa was called upon to provide expert commentary and to address the situation publicly. In her response, Elisa emphasized the importance of continuing efforts to address systemic issues and highlighted the role of cultural competency training in mitigating such challenges. She used the opportunity to reinforce the program's value and to advocate for ongoing commitment to equity and inclusion. Her measured and thoughtful response helped to steer the conversation back to the importance of proactive and sustained efforts in healthcare reform. As the year progressed, Elisa's training program gained further traction, with more organizations adopting it and integrating its principles into their practices. The program's impact was reflected in improved patient satisfaction scores and positive feedback from healthcare professionals who felt better equipped to address issues of bias and equity. Elisa also continued to work on expanding her advocacy efforts. She began collaborating with educational institutions to develop similar training programs for future healthcare professionals, aiming to instill the principles of cultural competency early in their careers. This new initiative was well received and further solidified her role as a leading advocate for healthcare equity. Reflecting on her journey, Elisa felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The challenges she had faced had strengthened her resolve and deepened her understanding of the complexities involved in driving systemic change. She remained committed to her mission, knowing that the work was ongoing and that continued efforts were necessary to achieve lasting impact. Elisa's dedication to her cause continued to inspire others and to drive positive change in the field of healthcare. As she looked to the future, she was motivated by the progress made and the potential for further advancements. Her journey had been marked by resilience, growth, and an unwavering commitment to promoting justice and equity in healthcare. Elisa's journey of advocacy and reform had reached a pivotal moment. Her cultural competency training program was making waves in healthcare, and her efforts to address disparities were garnering increasing attention. However, the pressure of maintaining momentum and handling new challenges began to weigh heavily on her. One day, Elisa received an invitation to participate in a high-stakes conference on global healthcare reform. The conference was to be held in an international venue, bringing together leaders from around the world to discuss pressing issues and innovative solutions. The opportunity was both exciting and daunting, as it would place Elisa on a global stage and subject her work to international scrutiny. Preparing for the conference required a tremendous amount of effort. Elisa spent weeks researching global healthcare disparities, coordinating with international experts, and crafting a presentation that would resonate with a diverse audience. Her goal was to highlight the success of her training program while also addressing the broader context of global healthcare equity. As the conference approached, Elisa's anticipation grew. The event promised to be a significant platform for influencing global discussions and forging new collaborations. She was both thrilled by the opportunity and anxious about the high expectations placed upon her. The day of the conference arrived, and Elisa stepped onto the international stage. The venue was grand, and the audience comprised influential figures from various countries. Elisa's presentation was well received, and she was praised for her insights and the success of her training program. However, the event also revealed new challenges and complexities in global healthcare reform that she had not previously encountered. During a panel discussion, Elisa engaged with other experts who had different perspectives on healthcare equity. The dialogue was stimulating, but also challenging, as it highlighted the diverse approaches and the difficulties in reconciling various strategies. Elisa navigated these discussions with skill, using her experiences and data from her program to contribute meaningfully to the conversation. After the conference, Elisa found herself inundated with requests for interviews, collaborations, and consultations. The exposure and recognition were both a testament to her work and a source of overwhelming demand. Balancing these new opportunities with her ongoing responsibilities and personal life became increasingly challenging. One of the most unexpected developments came when a major international organization expressed interest in partnering with Elisa's program to adapt it for use in several countries facing severe healthcare disparities. The potential impact of this partnership was enormous, but it also required careful consideration and negotiation. Elisa embarked on discussions with the organization, exploring how the training program could be adapted to fit different cultural contexts, while maintaining its core principles. The negotiations were complex and required thoughtful adjustments to ensure that the program would be effective across various settings. Amidst the whirlwind of activities, Elisa also faced personal challenges. The demands of her career had started to take a toll on her well-being, and she struggled to find time for self-care and family. The pressures of her work began to affect her health and relationships, leading her to reconsider her priorities and the sustainability of her current pace. One evening, after a particularly demanding day, Elisa reflected on her journey. She realized that her passion for her work and the drive to make a difference had led her to achieve remarkable success. However, she also recognized the importance of balance and the need to address her own needs in order to continue her advocacy effectively. Determined to find a more sustainable approach, Elisa began to implement strategies for better work-life balance. She delegated responsibilities, sought support from her team, and set boundaries to ensure that she could maintain her health and personal connections while continuing her impactful work. As the year drew to a close, Elisa looked back on her accomplishments with pride. Her program had made significant strides, and her global presence had opened doors for further influence and collaboration. Yet, she also understood the importance of personal well-being and the need to approach her work with renewed perspective. Elisa's journey had been marked by tremendous achievements, challenges, and growth. She remained committed to her mission of advancing healthcare equity and social justice, but she also embraced the need for balance and self-care. As she looked forward to the future, Elisa was ready to continue her advocacy with renewed energy and a deeper understanding of the multifaceted nature of her work.